Joining us right now is a guest whose name is much easier to pronounce. Stuart Varney, anchor of Varney and Company over at Fox Business Network. Stuart, today is your first opportunity to walk into a Starbucks and have a meaningful conversation about race relations in America with the 22-year-old barista who probably has a lot of student loan debt and can't get a job. Listen, we've been talking about this for the last couple of days. I would love to, just from a pure business perspective, what was the CEO of Starbucks thinking here? This can't be good for business.
I don't think it is. Look, I think Howard Schultz is a brilliant executive and has managed the arrival and growth of Starbucks just brilliantly. There's no question about it. But I think what he's suggesting now, that I walk in to get my coffee and I engage, a barista engages me on race when I'm getting my coffee, I think that's entirely inappropriate. And frankly, I'm not going to go to Starbucks because I don't want that. I don't want to talk race when I'm getting my coffee.
Yeah.
And supposing, has he thought this through? Supposing I have a politically incorrect view on race, and I voice my opinions loudly for the rest of the store to participate in. Is that what he wants?
Well,
I don't think so.
None other than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar actually voiced that in an opinion at Time Magazine just last night, and he makes some pretty good points about that. But let me ask you this, in a larger picture. Is there, listen, I do think this was bad for business for Starbucks, but in general, is it wrong for companies or corporations whose CEO or whose board and ownership have a certain perspective and a certain ideology? Is it wrong for them to try to influence our culture, try to influence our society, and be engaged in issues? Maybe not race because it's so divisive, but what about other issues?
No, it's not wrong. It's their right of free speech. It's their capital, it's their business, run it as you see fit. I happen to think that on this particular occasion, it's bad for business.
Well, when you go into Starbucks, you're sort of grumpy anyway because you're standing in line there and you haven't had any coffee. Otherwise, you wouldn't be at Starbucks, and then they're going to engage you in this. I just think a recipe for disaster. I make a prediction this goes away.
I think it will go away, and I'll say one more thing. The coffee at Dunkin' Donuts is much better.
And you get a donut.
It's that simple, Brian. It's just that simple.
Yeah, that's right. Not only do you get good coffee, you can get a donut.
Yeah.
Well, it's a no-brainer.
Versus a talk about race and a scone.
I want my sugar and caffeine at the same time. Come on.
All right, so I want to talk to you about the market yesterday. It rallied significantly. I'm very, very confused because it all had to do with something that Janet Yellen said about rates in the future. She said, as I understand it, that these rates can't go on forever, but we're in no hurry. Exactly what did she say, and why did the market react the way that it did?
I'm sick and tired of it, Brian. I'll tell you the truth. I'm sick and tired of it. There's a whole cottage industry in America of people who pore over the tea leaves of Janet Yellen. Will she use the word patience? Is it in the statement, or is it out of the statement? Turns out that it was out of the statement, so therefore we can infer that the Federal Reserve may raise interest rates quickly. But Janet then said, well, maybe we will not raise rates quickly. Oh, dearie me, what a mess. Meanwhile, the average investor is getting whipsawed because the Dow goes up 200 points on this one word. I think investors are sick and tired of it because not many people understand it. It's not definitive. It never is. The central bank cannot be definitive. We're going to put rates up in June or up in October. You can't say that. So it's a very confusing mess, which I think turns people off investing. I think that's a big downside to this.
Stuart Varney, we always love to get your insights on American politics. I think you've got a pretty good angle on it and a nice view of things. And, listen, the fallout on the Hillary Clinton email thing is still there. It won't go away. The people like James Carville who were trying to help her actually hurt her by actually suggesting that the reason she did all of this was to keep the emails from the eyes of Louis Gohmert and other congressmen. So given that, we're now hearing whispers down here in the Beltway. I don't know if you're hearing them up in Manhattan, but, people are saying maybe Al Gore should run. And now there's this push for Elizabeth Warren. What do you make of this? It's a pretty orchestrated movement for Elizabeth Warren.
I think the push for Elizabeth Warren is very significant. There's $1 million campaign. It's called Run, Warren, Run. They have field operatives in New Hampshire and in Iowa. and they are pushing for Elizabeth Warren. After all, the left wants more government. That's Elizabeth Warren. They want more spending. Elizabeth Warren. They hate Wall Street. That's Elizabeth Warren. They don't want Hillary. And as Hillary gets into more and more trouble with the email scandal and the funding scandal, the foundation scandal, then the attention shifts to Elizabeth Warren, and the left piles on. I think they'll have a significant impact in the primaries. That's where activists come out in force. The activists are largely on the left. I would not dismiss this push for Elizabeth Warren as Hillary runs into more and more trouble.
You know, speaking of politics, your good friend from
what?
I'm the guy from Celebrity Apprentice.
Oh, Donald Trump.
God, why did I lose that? Your good friend Donald Trump has decided that he's going to form an exploratory committee.
My good friend?
I thought he was your good friend. I mean, I
hang with the Donald, Stuart?
When the Donald was at CPAC, he said, and I quote, that, politicians are all talk and no action. When you look at the Donald in the political arena, the very same thing could be said of him, couldn't it?
You could. The one thing that Donald Trump and I agree on is that our children should not have tattoos. Other than that, there's not that much agreement. Look, I think he loves publicity. He knows how to get it.
Well, do you buy that he's serious?
No, I don't.
No, I mean, why do we go down this path? Everybody gets in, well, we're going to talk about the Donald, and he never takes the plunge.
No, I don't think Republicans want him to take the plunge. I don't think there's that much support for Donald Trump. I think he supports himself, and he loves the publicity, and he knows how to get it, and that's exactly what he's doing. I would dismiss this out of hand, quite frankly.
All right. Well, one thing that can't be dismissed out of hand, Stuart Varney, and that is your ability to get the big get on your show. You had, I think, one of the most coveted interviews last week with Evander Holyfield. I want to play a little bit of it here because you actually you scooped a story that we had earlier this week. Here's Stuart with Evander.
What's this about a fight with Mitt Romney?
Well,
it's not real.
I just got to talk Nick into showing up.
You're not going to hit him, are you?
I just want him to stop hiding, because he's going to get the whooping.
Well, it started getting ugly there, and then it was revealed this week that for charity, the two of them are going to have a boxing match. Well, what did you make of Evander? Does he still have the stuff? Do you think he's going to hurt Mitt Romney?
He's a very interesting guy. I said to him, "Hey, you've made some money in your time, Evander. How do you like paying more than half of it to the government in income taxes?" He says, "I don't like that. I'll go with 10%. Because he's a big-time Christian. He agrees with tithing 10%.
Yeah.
So he said, I said, what's a legitimate proportion to pay in taxes? And he said, 10%. If it's good enough for God, it's good enough for me.
I love that. I wish more Republicans and more conservatives would reach out to professional athletes in the NFL, in all of the sports, frankly, because they're all very disciplined people. They usually have a pretty strong faith, and if they're making a lot of money, they know the bite of the tax man. They're Republicans if they just thought about it.
That's the question to ask. How do you feel about losing half your ring? You get beaten up in the ring, and then they take half your money.
All right, so who are you picking, Holyfield or Romney? You see, you've actually seen him up close here.
I would take Mr. Holyfield, actually, if it was a real fight, and it's not going to be.
Never been in a fight with a Mormon. They can be nasty.
Wow.
They do.
Really?
They bring it.
Please send your comments to Larry O'Connor. All right, listen, Stuart, thank you so much. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Good luck, gentlemen.